On side opposition, you fight the good fight and stay in the country that you know oppresses you. But at no point does that knowledge ever actualize into anything past the state of subservience that you, as the actor in this debate, already know. So the extent of change that happens is reliant on Iran as a government allowing you to do the marginal benefit and marginal change that opposition claims to have. Isaiah says that it's a debate about strategy for the feminist movement, and I think it's the best strategy given how other strategies have failed. I don't think opposition responds to this quite well. At best, opposition bench provides a very narrow benefit for the small pool of people and women that this actor protects. But as to what Joseph and Isaiah has already said in their speeches, that is hingent on always being under the jurisdiction of Iran and them not literally killing you. The change that occurs on our side is that the ability for us to critique Iran is a lot more precise, a lot smarter. We are able to protect ourselves as the actor. Before I weigh the two clashes into debate, a few responses to DLO. 1. DLO asserts the oversimplification of it leaving. There really was no response to the alternatives that my partners have mechanized. You leaving, sure, can be portrayed as you giving up at worst, but you as the leader have the strategic thinking and capacity to know the bigger picture. Clearly, status quo is not working, wherein right now you are just a bigger target to begin with. 2. DLO says that these progressive countries are different. We don't think that's the case precisely because of progressive liberal wokeism, right? How many people are so willing to accept refugees in Europe? How many were people rallied together to coalesce in the name of Palestine when they knew what was happening? That is to say, a lot of their mitigations to us are at best mitigations. Third, DLO talks about support in Iran. We think that that is the clearest lie DLO has ever said. If you read the info slide and just vibe check this with reality, these are visceral harms and there are backlash wherein women who try and do want to do all of these things that DLO talks about, they get killed. On side opposition, you use these women as a socio-political battering ram for change. Opposition assumes you as the leader and all of these women consent to being meat shields in Iran to continue to get oppressed. It's not romanticized martyrdom. Please, let's debate in the real world. Two clashes then in this debate. The first clash is, on the actor, why is it in their best proximate interest to leave? LO says that it is unlikely for progressive countries to cater to you as an immigrant because you're an immigrant. All their benefits hinge on this particular point, so if I can rebut this, it takes out a lot of LO's and DLO's mitigatory responses to us. 1. Principally, my Prime Minister point still stands, right? At best, LO says you're hurting the people if you leave. This is a cookie-cutter response. It doesn't really respond to how already my PM characterized the dire and visceral nature of where Iran is currently. Note the nuance of the capacity of this leader. You are the leader, you know things that other members don't. That's the incentive for particular countries to actually actively want to target you and actively want you to get in that particular country to begin with. That is to say, all of this capitalistic change that happens as a result of you as the feminist leader knowing particular things about Iran can then be translated to all of the NGOs and wokeist stuff that you can actually turn to. You're not just a refugee, you're a strategic ally that these allies have. DLO heard this, he did not respond. Opposition whip has to respond to this, please. Secondly, pragmatically, Joseph, my partner, just explains a really pertinent point that deals with a lot of DLO's characterization. DLO never adopts past LO speech. They said that you lack protection. The problem with staying in Iran is that if you do indeed stay, and if you do just concede to only protecting a small subset of particular women, the ceiling of having more members is capped because of the characterization that my partner gave to you in his speech. Precisely because they target women when this particular movement, or when this particular movement that you actually actively have a leadership position in, you are less likely to be able to get more members because at the point in which you are far more visible is the point in which the Iranian government literally kills you, right? So instead, at what happens as a consequence of you staying is that you don't just limit the deaths and murders to 12, you literally make it a lot bigger. You make it 30, you make it 40, all of that stuff. Lastly, even if we agree with that particular characterization, I really think that opposition bench is heavily like mitigating a lot of the benefits that these particular NGOs have in regards to how they are able to help Iran. Like both of my partners gave a ton of reasons as to why that is important, given that the material conditions are not being met in Iran, and this is a substitute for that particular things. So on our side, literally, you just are able to help a lot more people, even if you are less of a proximate area away from them. Second issue then, on the extent and exclusivity of change. Joseph extension enables a lot of the mechanized impacts that a leader has the ability to do a lot of the things that able you to have a lot of like really like important calling out mechanisms for Iran within the particular international community. Before I actually get into that, I'll be happy to take up why. Cool. That being said, DLO's main rebuttal to this is that all of these impacts, or like all of their counterfactual, is to really just work within the Iranian government. I have like responses to their counterfactual. One, DLO contradicts themselves. If you're saying that the US or any other EU nation is patriarchal, then I think Iran is probably going to be the most patriarchal like country out of all of these things. So it's unlikely that the change that you want is able to actually occur to begin with. But proximity and the relationship you have with those particular leaders in the government are not actually likely to change, precisely because they are a religion who literally thinks that women are beneath them, who literally thinks and acts as if a woman driving or a woman not like having an education is such a terrible thing to happen to begin with. That is to say, all of DLO's mechanizations don't work at the point in which that the Iranian government literally has this encoded within their constitution. That being said then, why do we win? On the first clash, I think it's just a lot more important to credit a lot of the material that Hesaya and Joseph gave to you, precisely because of the strategic importance of being able to literally have an avenue for you to verbalize your dissent and able to reach a wider margin. And secondly, I just think the extent of being able to actually offer a lot of these positive impacts on our side of the house just fall to the wayside when you are dependent on Iran as an actor. For all of those reasons, very proud to propose.